Are you excited? Oh, sorry. You guys still have another minute.
Katrina's doing her senior presentation.
Please stand for music. Good morning, everyone. Today is December 15th. It's an E-Day on your schedule, and today for lunch is chicken piccata. There won't be any announcements today, so if you have important announcements, just let me know after morning meeting, and we can put it on the portal. Today's song lyric is, "We didn't go to church, but I got blessed by time of, nope. This, this song is Time of Our Lives by Pitbull. And now we have a senior presentation by Katrina Seymour.
Hello. Everyone has a moment that changes their lives forever. Mine was being born, the youngest of 8 kids. You can tell a lot about someone from the things they don't say, and I don't say a lot. I talk about the same 3 things in a constant loop. Those 3 things consist of how much I love my family, art, and poetry. Like a CD, I play the same songs on loop all day, nothing new or unexpected. This wouldn't be a problem if I dive deeper into them, but I always stay on the surface level. This ensures that the people around me know what's important to me, but never exactly why it's important. To be honest, I do this because I'm afraid of opening myself to those around me, afraid that they will see me differently if I told them why I love the things I did. Allowing others into my life has always been my greatest fear. In order to understand why I keep myself in a box made of those 3 things, you have to first understand why they are important to me. When someone asks me how was my childhood, I always smile and reply that it was good. Well, because it was good. For context, I was born and raised in the Bahamas. When I was a baby, my aunt died, which means my mom went from having 4 kids to having 8. As chaotic as that sounds, it was far from it. My siblings were divided into 2 households. The older kids lived with my uncle, which left me and my brother with my mom. We didn't have a lot of money growing up. My mom worked 2 jobs and was hardly home. One of my oldest memories was my brother pouring cold water on me to keep me from falling asleep as he waited for my mom to come home. My brother and I basically raised ourselves. We learned how to get to and from school, how to make ourselves dinner, and do all the basics at a really young age. We also grew up in the worst part of the city. Gunshots became the new fireworks, and police cars replaced ice cream trucks. But this was my normal. Even though the environment around me was chaotic, I was happy, and I felt safe surrounded by my family that gave me a constant flow of love and attention. Some of my best memories were when I lived in the city. When my mom was off, she always took us to the movies. We got to watch all of the latest movies because the security guard had a crush on my mom, so we got in for free. Or we would take a bus downtown and window shop at all the expensive stores. I spent my weekends with my older siblings playing way too much GTA and Saints Row. I can still remember waking up on the weekend to find no food in the house and only having enough money to buy a bag of rice. But let me tell you, rice and butter hits hard when you're hungry. When people talk about the youngest child, they often talk about the good parts. No one talks about how painful it is to watch your siblings grow up and leave to start a life of their own. One day, I was swinging on their arms, and the next day, they were gone. My 7-year-old brain couldn't process it. I thought they had abandoned me, when in reality, they just went off to college. To add insult to injury, we moved. We left our tiny apartment in the city and moved to a mini resort because my mom got a new job. It wasn't easy adjusting to the new place. I had left all my friends and older siblings in the city. To any other kids, this place would have been a giant playground. It had a beach in walking distance, a mini playground, and so many other things. But to me, it was a giant prison. For the first time, I felt alone. When I finally did manage to make new friends, my grandmother got sick, so we had to move again. We moved from Naughty Lutra to Saudi Lutra. It turned out that the kids on the family islands were 100 times worse than the ones in the city. In the city, I never experienced bullying or even knew what bullying was. Going to school in Saudi Lutra took a part of me. It took my voice. I started drowning in a pool of self-hatred. I started hating everything and everyone around me. This was until I got my first journal. Writing became my escape from the world. I pushed away my family because I was convinced that they hated me as much as the kids at school did. Every page I filled in that journal, I felt like I was tearing out a chapter of the girl I once was in the city and changing myself into someone that people in my settlement would like. So that's what I did. I wrote in hopes that my words would grow wings and fly me away from a place I called Earth, but it never did. Even to this day, I still struggle to read that journal. Even though during this time I had isolated myself away from my family, they were still always there for me. When power would go off in my settlement, we used to make pillow forts in the living room, and my mom used to tell us ghost stories from her childhood and read us books by candlelight. I fell in love with the way my mom told stories and how much joy and comfort it brought me, which made me see the powers in words and how they can express emotions that are not always easy to say out loud. I stopped using writing as a means to escape the world around me, but use it to express and deal with my feelings. Almost 10 years later, I'm still in love with writing and write poems whenever I'm sad. I'm still way better at communicating my thoughts and feelings through writing, which is probably why I might come off as shy and quiet, when in reality, my mind is full of words and ideas. I'm just too afraid to actually say it, which is something I'm working on. All of my siblings are incredibly talented. Everyone in my family is good at something. My 2 sisters have the voice of an angel, and all of my brothers are really good at drawing. And then there's me. What can I say? My mom ran out of good genes when she got to me. It's no secret that I spent more time with my brothers than I did with my sisters. When I was with my brothers, they taught me how to draw. I enjoyed spending hours upon hours flipping through their sketchbooks and making them draw all of my favorite characters like Tinkerbell and Evie. It amazed me how they can turn nothing into something. Art was also the only way I felt like I could get my dad to notice me. I never had a normal father-daughter relationship with my father. My dad wanted a son, which he got, but he also got me. I always felt like I wasn't good enough, so I tried my hardest to be better than my brother at everything. Even though I was better at sports and school, I always felt flat compared to art. My brother was always more skilled. I rarely saw my dad growing up. He would say he's on his way and reach a year later. But every year on my birthday, he took me shopping for art supplies, and he always brought his sketchbook for me to flip through on the car ride. My dad also had a secret spot where he used to take us. There was an overgrown spot on the beach that no one really knows about, but if you go through some veins, you'll be greeted by statues. I always found that place magical, something out of a fairy tale. Even though the memory of that place is fading, when I think about art, I think of that place. Art is my expression of happiness, expression of myself, and expression of everything I love. My family, writing, and art has always been there for me. Even though we are all in different corners of the world, there's comfort in knowing I will always be their little sister. When I'm having a bad day at school, I know I can always call them, and they wouldn't judge me for crying over the smallest of things. My mom is literally my rock, and I'm so thankful to have such an amazing woman to look up to. She showed me how much you can do if you just work hard enough. My mom single-handedly raised 8 kids and brought us out of poverty. We went from living in a tiny apartment, and now we owned our own house. And she did it all with a smile on her face. In my 17 years of living, I've never seen my mom sad. And I'm so grateful to call her my mom. I am also thankful for my stepdad, who stepped in and filled the role of my father. He came into my life at a time I hated everyone and everything. And I know it must have been difficult to deal with me, but he loved me anyway, and for that, I'm thankful. And of course, for all of my friends that became like family. My childhood was far from smooth sailing, but I wouldn't go back and change a thing if it meant losing everything I care about. I wouldn't be who I am today if those 3 things didn't find their way into my life. Life is not all sunshines and rainbows, but I know I'll be okay because I have an amazing family that's always there to pick me up when I fall. And if I don't like the world around me, I can create a new one with a piece of paper and a pen. So why am I so afraid of people knowing the backstory to everything I hold dear in my life? Similar to the statues, I like to keep my emotions hidden away and only allow certain people to actually see inside. From the outside looking in, I'm a shy individual, and I'm okay with the world seeing me like that. It's easier to say that my childhood was good than to explain why it was good. Because when I say it out loud, it starts to sound not so good. So I trap myself in a box to avoid people from coming in. People like flowers, so they pick them and leave them to die. So I built a garden filled with flowers that was labeled family, poetry, and art. This ensures that even if someone takes one of my flowers, they will only be taking the ones that are available to them and that I'm okay with sharing. We often forget that rain is needed for flowers to grow. The rain that waters my flowers is made up of sadness, grief, trauma, but most importantly, laughter and love. So maybe you will look at my flowers a little differently now that you know how they got there. Thank you.
Thank you, Katrina. That was beautiful. We have 4 minutes, so we might have time for announcements. So are there any faculty announcements? Student announcements?
Hi, SEM has their first squash match today. Woo! It's against Nichols, and it's here, so wish everyone good luck and stop by if you can. Thanks.
Hi, I just want to let everyone know of another community service opportunity. I will put a sheet of paper right after morning meeting, but tomorrow during 5th period, so tomorrow, Thursday, 5th period, we'll be taking down the items on the warmth tree, so like getting rid of the, or taking off the scarves, hats, and so that way they can be donated. It probably won't take an hour, but you can get an hour of community service by volunteering, and it really shouldn't take that long. So if a few of you want to help out, I'll put that on the board next to the library. Thank you.
So basketball had a game yesterday. We won 37-30. Our lead scorers were Lydia with 12 points, Mai with 10 points, and yours truly with 10 points as well.
The monocle is printed. Yeah. So everyone in the chapel got their own copy. The teachers will be getting them in their mailbox. And I'll be walking around and I'll ask you if you have a monocle, and then I'll just hand them to you.
Any other student announcements? No? Well, everyone have a great day and get to class.